Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Be Healed Web Show. I am your host, Camille R. Perry, and I'm so excited to have you on as my guest, whether you're watching live right now, wherever you are, or you might be tuning in future days. I'm just happy you stop on by and hit play. You have a lot of options on this here social media, but you stopped on by me, and I just want to say thank you. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe. Go ahead and raise that subscription number for your girl. I told you I got a number I'm trying to reach before my 40th birthday. I believe y'all we can work together, make it happen. If you're on Facebook, like, share, send this to family members and friends. I'm confident the person that I'm getting ready to speak to not only will bless your life, but will say something that will encourage you, that I already know it's going to encourage me. And I'm just going to tell you all about her in just a second. But of course, we got some announcements. Number one, this is the day the Lord has made, and we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. Listen, if you had a bad day earlier today, but you made it home safely, it's now a good day. Okay. If you didn't like what you ate earlier for lunch, hopefully you got something good for dinner. It's always going to get better. All I can keep telling y'all, there's more to the story. So keep on living. Okay. Don't give up. Do not give up, y'all. Let's keep moving forward. So let's see. Of course, you all know Be Healed Women's Retreat is happening August 22nd through the 25th. So ladies. Early bird registration is closing on March 15th. So if you want to save that $50, go ahead and register today at BeHealedConference.com. and go ahead and get your registration in. And then for those that might wait after March 15th, that rate is going to be $150 for registration. So please, it's all kind of bonus bucks that you get, bonus perks that you get when you register early. But nevertheless, that's our main announcement. Just want to share that with you all. And let me go ahead and tell you about this awesome guest that I have on tonight. I told you all March is full with amazing people. It's not just only, as we celebrate Women's History Month, but every time I meet people who have just a story, have a passion, have a drive, I got to talk to them. I got to know more about them. So I actually just first time ever speaking to her live tonight. However, I've seen and I've been following her on social media. Facebook, she goes by, she moves with purpose. The title alone of her handle name is enough for me to say, I want to know more. Then we get into, she's a DIYer, and I'm just going to tell you who she is, but Miss Toya Cheri, she's a 22-year military veteran. So we have to salute her for her service and her commitment. She's a wife. She's a mother. She's a sister who in Christ who just loves her Lord. Like y'all, I feel like I just met my new best friend. I'm just saying. Mom of 5 girls, in a blended family, and she's here to share her story of resilience and how leaning into her faith changed the trajectory of her life. Y'all know I've been telling y'all some stuff that's going on with me, how I'm stepping out of fear and into faith. So I'm looking to not only learn and glean more, but if she is the testament of what it means to step out on faith and trust God, I'm excited. So can we welcome Miss Toya Cheri all the way from Louisiana? Can we welcome, she moves with purpose. Come on in here, sis.
Hello. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. I'm happy for you to be here in this virtual space. Thank you so much for tuning in or, agreeing to say yes. I'm excited to have you here on tonight in this virtual space. Welcome to the Be Healed Web Show. Did I miss anything as I shared your introduction?
No, you covered it all. Obviously there's a little more things to cover, but yeah, I appreciate the intro. Again, I appreciate the invite for being here when you reached out. I was just like, me? She wants me on the show. So that's just so awesome. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, okay. Let's just let before we get into the meat of what we're going to talk about tonight. Let's talk with She Move with Purpose. Where did, where did you come up with that?
Oh, well, I can't tell you that part without telling you the full story.
Okay.
Um, so I would have to backtrack too. So in 2021, I was still active duty, and I was starting to get the overwhelm, feeling exhaustion, like burnout. And so I ended up going through a medical evaluation board. And through that time, so that was that was in March of 2021. In that same month, my dad had got diagnosed with cancer.
Mm.
So we fast forward to September. I was approved for my medical evaluation, which means I was going to be medically retired. Um, and then in November of 2021, I had my retirement ceremony November 5th, and November 22nd, my dad committed suicide. So um, after that, I went into like a downward spiral of depression and anxiety. And I was, it's like I was here, but I wasn't here, right? I wasn't present for my family. And I realized like throughout that year that I was just immobile. Like there were days I couldn't get out of bed. Um, there were days where I didn't want to shower. Like there were days where I just was just breathing.
Yeah.
And so in September of 2021, I was sitting on a couch one night, and I was um, just like really asking God, like, how do I get myself out of this situation? Because I can't be this person anymore. And what I realized was that I was focusing so much on my pain that I forgot who God was. And
Mm.
he put into my thought process the movie The War Room. And
Okay.
so I watched that movie. Um, it reminded me of the power of prayer. And,
Yes.
so I went into my closet like the woman in War Room did, and I got on my hands and knees and I just started praying. And I was praying and I was asking God to give me three things. One was a creative outlet. One was an opportunity to be connected with women who were Christ-like and who could kind of help me, encourage me, and motivate me through that journey. And then I
Mm.
also wanted an opportunity to mentor again because I loved doing that while I was in the military. So
Yeah.
um, after that prayer, a couple of days later, scrolling on social media again, 2 in the morning, and I came across this thing called the One Room Challenge. And the One Room Challenge is an 8-week period where you have people who will make over one of the rooms in their house, and they post it weekly so that way they can show their process to that community, and everybody can support each other through it and cheer each other on and all that stuff. And so I saw it and I was like, man, this is awesome. um, I wonder if I should do this. And I was like, well, do I have the capacity to do that? Because I know that I ebb and flow with my emotions and just kind of everything that I was going through, like just not being stable. And so, I said, you know what? I know that when I was in the military and they gave me deadlines or suspensions is what we call them, like I showed up every time because I knew that that fire was under me, right? And
Yeah.
so I said, well, if I sign up, this is kind of the same thing. So before I could talk myself out of it, I signed up and I was like, all right, here goes everything. So then I was like, well, I don't want to use my personal page. So I want to create another page for this, just for accountability for me. And so I prayed and I said, well, God, like, what do I do with this? Like, what do I call it? I have no idea, what this is going to look like. And he dropped in my spirit, She Moves with Purpose. And so I said, okay. And so I, wrote it up and that was it. And then from that point, I've just been going. So yeah, that's where that name came from.
I just love the Lord. Yes, I do. I mean, you know how, okay, all good and perfect things come from above. Okay. But for you to rely back on one thing that you mentioned, and I'm getting so excited about it, to pause for a second. One thing that you said, that you were so entrenched with your grief and your pain that you forgot about your God. You forgot who God is.
Yes.
And I think that is so worth addressing, because life does that.
Mhm.
Life's in such a way that we can't discern and see past what's in front of us.
Right.
But knowing who he is changes our outlook. And then you mentioned that, you know, you wanted better. You recognize that this wasn't working. That's huge. That is so huge because I think that awareness is not natural for us. A lot of people, I don't think a lot of people they're not aware of how bad things are. But you knew, I just feel like the Lord was talking to you the whole time, like, hey, come on, come a
Yeah,
little
we have a
higher.
special relationship. And then some days he does things to me and I'm like, okay, Lord, I hear you. All right, I'm moving. So, but yeah, that was something that um I'm so happy that he brought to my attention though.
Absolutely. So she moved with purpose is kicked off in 2022 or 2020, late
Yes.
2021,
September
2022.
2022. Yes.
September 2022. Okay. So now she moved with purpose is doing the one room challenge. I asked you, how would you want to title this episode on tonight? And you said, be consistent.
Yes.
So you mentioned your military training.
Mhm.
You remember your marching orders, and you're like, I made sure to handle that. I'm jumping into this one room challenge. Did you ever feel like you didn't want to be consistent? Did you ever get that this ain't worth it?
Um, I don't think I ever felt like it wasn't worth it. I more so was just constantly telling myself that nothing changes if nothing changes, you know? And so if I want for me to have a different circumstance, I have to be willing to do the work, right? Because we know that faith without works is dead, right? And
Yeah.
so I can sit here and believe as much as I want to, but if I don't associate the action along with it, then where's the change going to come from? So it was really important for me that even in those days that I didn't want to move, that I still got up and moved, even if it was just a couple of feet, you know, an inch, even if I just got out of bed, you know, it's so funny because I seen this TED talk, and there was a young lady who was talking about how she was suffering from depression, and one day she was sitting and watching a NASA launch, right? A NASA launch, and so you know with a rocket they count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the rocket takes off, and so she was like, she likened herself to a rocket. So anytime she was depressed and she didn't want to get out of bed, she'd be laying in the bed and she'd go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then she just sit up. And then she go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and put her feet on the floor. And then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and stand up. And so it was like every moment she thought of herself as a rocket and did the countdown. And that
Yeah.
allowed her to move from one space to the next. And so there were days when I did that just as well because I felt like that was so valuable and it allowed for me to keep moving even when I didn't want to move. And so it's important that we understand that our perspective is everything. How we perceive the situation that we're in will determine whether we're successful or not with the next thing that we do. And so, yeah, for me, that was eye opening. It was motivating, and it's something that I definitely applied.
I love that. I'm right, but like I told you, I'm on a journey too, right? I might be asking questions, but I'm look, I'm not just hosting. I'm like, no, I want to learn. I love the statement, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about being consistent. How does Toya Cherie make how are you lean how did just tell us, take us from the top as it relates to when you leaned into your faith. What was that like? Because that's a journey of consistency and resilience as well. So
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. So when I got done so I was, the room that I did for the one room challenge is the movie, or it was my family room upstairs, and I redid it
Okay.
and turned it into a movie room. And so, ironically enough, I finished that room on the anniversary of my father's death. So when I got done, like it was so important for me when because it was an 8 week process, but I extended it to 9 weeks just because one of those weeks I was just kind of going through it. And so consistency for me is even when you feel like you can't do it and you have to pause, you get back up again and then you keep going. So it doesn't have to be, you know, a smooth process. You can ebb and flow in it, but just as long as you continue to move forward, again, 1% a day is better than nothing, right?
Yeah.
So when I got done with that room, I just kind of sat in it. And, I call it my resilience room. So while it's my move room for my family, it's my resilience room, because anytime I feel like I can't do something, I go up in there and I reminded that I can.
Mhm.
So leaning into my faith, like after that, I was just like, all right, God, like we did this together, And
Mhm.
so I know that you hear me, because those three things that I prayed for, they came to pass, and very quickly.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I'm going to continue to move forward in faith on everything that I do. And what was surprising enough after that was I had a veteran reach out to me, and she saw what I did with that room, and she said, "Hey, are you ready for your first customer?" And I was just like, "What?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she was like, "Well, I need some storage in my dining room, and I want you to come take a look, so that way you can see, what you can do here." And I said, "Okay." And so I went down there and I looked at her space, and I said, "Well," I kind of gave her some ideas on how she could maximize the space that was in there, because she had a lot of stuff in there, and rightfully so, because what she was doing was buying new household goods for the new airmen that were coming into the base that we have down here. So she works on base, and so she was buying household goods for them, so that way they can just come shop in her house for free for whatever they needed. But she had so much stuff that she didn't have enough storage for it, and so. Like I said, I was just kind of giving her ideas on what she could do to maximize on the space. And so she said, "Well, how about you just redo my whole dining room?" And I was like, "Huh?" Okay. And I said, "Well, I can build you a banquette, like with seating and storage inside of it with drawers." Now, mind you, I had never done none of this before in my life. So, but in my mind, I'm just coming up with all of these ideas, and I'm just like, everything is figure outable, right? Like, I can do this. So, and then there was moments where I was just like, I don't know if I can do this, but I went upstairs in my room and I was like, yep, I can. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I went through that process. And what I can appreciate about her is that she gave me the time to do it as fast or as slow as I wanted to. And she gave me grace on that, because she understood what my process was. She understood that for me, like DIY was therapy for me.
Yeah.
So she just completely wiped away a timeline, and she just said, "You get done whenever you get done." And again, I know everybody is not like that, but for her, like I really appreciated that in that season, because I was still dealing with a lot. Um, and there were days when I honestly didn't want to get out of bed, and again, that rocket and God just like dropping that into my spirit when it needed to be there. And I got up and I went out there and I did what I had to do. And so when I was done, it was her reaction. Oh my goodness. I wish I could have recorded that, but she didn't want to be recorded, because I just wanted to keep that so I can reflect back on it. But she is a woman who is very stone faced, non-emotional, and very straightforward, And so it's like when you touch her heart, you can see
Mhm.
it. And
Yeah.
when she came home, um, she walked in the house and then she just stopped and she looked and she put her hands on the walls and she smiled. And then she walked over to everything that I did and she just started rubbing it. And she was just smiling and she was like, "You know what? You did your thing." And that to me, that meant everything to me, because I really wanted to please her and impress her. Um,
Yeah.
and I wanted to do it right for her, because she had work done in her house before, and the contractors, they did not do what they were supposed to do. So I really wanted to take my time and make sure that it was done right. Um, and so, yeah, just to have that reaction from her was so awesome. And then when I got done with her dining room, she looked over at her kitchen and she was like, "Well, they're real close to each other. So I'm gonna need you to do my kitchen." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I got it." And so I went in and I remodeled her kitchen. And again, the same reaction. And then I talked with her afterwards and I was like, "So overall, like, what do you think?" And she said, "You have no idea how much you changed my life."
Yeah.
Um, she said, "While for you, this was a therapeutic process going through it all, but the end result for me is therapeutic, because my house is different. It feels different. It makes me like more motivated to get out there and do things. And because she was, suffering from depression just as well, and I didn't know it. And
Yeah.
it's not something that, she talked about. So just to create a space for her that felt warm, inviting, like just allow for her to have a clear mind, like all of these different things. I'm like, man, this is so awesome. And I know that because I leaned into my faith, that's the reason why all of that was able to come to pass. So yeah, I'm I'm just blessed, and I appreciate the fact that I'm blessed to be a blessing to somebody else too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's, I mean, we're created to bring glory and honor to his name. We're created to worship him, not just with the fruits of our lips, but with the life that we live. You know, man, it's wonderful. It's wonderful when we really understand that, God, I want you to be pleased with my life and everything that I say, do, and touch. Um, I just love that. I do have to ask you, are you mobile? Like, can you come to California? Like, do you do like cross consultation? Just trying to get an understanding.
Yeah, so I am actually, you know what? So interesting is that I had so many responses from that one reel that about me reel that I posted, where
Mhm.
veterans were reaching out, and just people across all ages, just saying, "Hey, do you travel? Like, could you come out here?" And I told my husband, I said, before that even happened, I told him that I think it would be a good idea if we just did like a traveling renovation company, because there's so many people that I want to help, and I know older people especially get taken advantage of by
Right.
contractors, and so I want to make sure that they can trust somebody who's coming in there who's going to have integrity and really just do the job the way it's supposed to be done, and not like try to take their money for it. Like, obviously I got to charge for labor, but I'm not going to be charging some astronomical price just because I can.
Right.
So the goal is for 2025 to actually put that into motion. So I have one more child at home. She's 17. She graduates next year from high school.
Yeah.
And so
Awesome.
after that happens, that is the plan, is to have a mobile renovation company. Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm in Moreno Valley, so if you jump on I-10, you come on, let me know when you're on your way. I might not be elderly, but I have old ways. Okay.
So yeah,
I'm
it's
trying to
not
make sure I
just for the
qualify.
elderly.
I'm trying to make sure I qualify. I'm like, my daddy's a veteran. Does that count? Like, because I mean, this, I think, give the gifts that God has given to each and every person is so beautiful, it's so vast. Pastor Reverend Dr. Marcus D. Cosby was preaching a series a few weeks ago, and he was talking about our creative creator. And when I think about that, how because our creator is so amazing, so creative in how he's made this whole universe and all that we see, and he made us, in his image and his likeness, and we got a little dab of and the things that we have been able to put forth, but it's all from him,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my God, like now I can't paint and construct like you can with wood and plywood and stucco and all that. I can't do that as of yet. I don't believe that's my ministry, but I can paint with words, right? I
Right.
know how to put some content together that, and but again, this the beauty of it. I want to just ask you, there's a lot of things I want to ask you, but I want to make sure I respect your time because you are 2 hours ahead of me in all this. But a friend of mine, a sister of mine, she's saying a lot of veterans would benefit from your services, especially out here on the West Coast. So we're gonna try to get you out here, you and your husband. Like, look, if we just got to put y'all up here, okay? I got
I
a
would
whole
love
guest room. Listen, have y'all up here. I'm like, oh, listen, we can work a deal out. But just how touching your story is, your life and what it is that you're doing. I've never asked you what branch of service you're in or
Air
were
Force.
in. Air Force. My dad was an Air Force. Okay, awesome.
Really? Yeah.
Yes. How many tours did you do? Or how many? I
So
know you did 20 years, so that's a lot.
right. So my deployments, I didn't go to like the really rough places. Um,
Hmm.
but I did go to Kuwait. I was there for 6 months, and then I went to Guam for 6 months, and then I went out to England, which is not a rough place at all. I was out there for 5.5 months. So um, I won't say that I was lucky, um,
Hmm.
because I know that there were, other my other brothers and sisters in the profession of arms that went out and did some tours where, um, they paid the ultimate sacrifice, or they, just had some experiences. But um, in those periods that I did serve abroad, um, I definitely was able to glean how important it is to be appreciative of what we have here in the United States. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so, but those were my tours. Some people
Well,
may
I
not
mean,
go on deployments, depending on who you talk to. They're like, you didn't deploy anywhere. But anytime you're away from your family, I guess that's considered.
exactly.
So
I consider all of that. I consider again, I'm a civilian through and through. But when you mentioned about England, it wasn't too bad a place. I'm like, well, if you want peas on your French fries, that might be a bad situation. Like they got, what do they got? The chutney on the fries and the different fish and chips, and it can be a little interesting. Their Sprite isn't really Sprite. I learned that the hard way when I was there. I was like, this is lemonade. This is not Sprite.
right.
Um, my Cassandra Masora, she was saying that she was wishing that one of our other sorors, Leah Andrews, could hear this, because she was Navy and her brother was Army, and he actually succumbed to suicide as well, and just understanding the life after that. So I'm gonna delicately ask you. You mentioned you gave some dates. You retired, medically retired. Your father got a cancer diagnosis.
Mhm.
Was it a terminal cancer diagnosis?
So I don't know because he didn't tell me.
Share. Oh,
What he did mention, he had throat cancer. And but I didn't know how serious it was because he didn't tell me. He
got
in that he didn't he told me and only me. He didn't want anybody else to know his situation. So I
it.
carried that from
Yeah.
March to September, just trying to encourage him every day. And he went through bouts where, some days he was okay and some days he wasn't. And he told me several times that that was his plan. And I asked
Mhm.
him, to not. And then I flew out there to be with him, just to see if he was okay. And um, but yeah, mm,
Yeah. That
yeah.
that's a hard one, and I think it's, your testimony is so needed to help people understand that people are dealing with life, and sometimes they can't see God through their pain. Sometimes the lens and the affliction of life is so great for them that, like you mentioned, perspective is everything.
Mhm.
But I'm grateful that you have armed yourself in resilience, in grace, in strength. I'm grateful that you have leaned all the way in to the Lord and letting Him lead you. When you mentioned she moves with purpose, when I listened to your about you and how we even got here, I was just like, it's so much in that. It's so. I mean, wow. You're a giant. You are like a super duper gladiator of strength. Like, I don't know if you know that about yourself, like how dope you are. And I just want to say thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with the world.
I appreciate that. Oh, you gonna have me emotional in here.
Oh no, no, no! I saw it.
No,
I see.
no, I
I see.
appreciate what you're saying. No, yeah,
Oh,
it's
am
okay.
like, I send you new sweatshirt. I said, don't worry.
No, it's fine.
But
No.
But you have a family of five. You and your husband have five daughters. Um, just the amount of strength that you're showing to them. So, are they in the family business yet? Are they trying to help put things together?
Yeah, no on all accounts. Yeah, my girls are so the oldest, 26 and 25, they're one
Mhm.
is in Houston, one is in Atlanta, and they're, doing their own things. And then my 20-year-old, she's in college, chemical engineering for her. And then my 19-year-old, she's doing majoring in theater and drama. So she wants to be on Broadway. And my youngest, who's 17, she wants to go to college for track. So everybody has their own, avenues. And I brought my youngest one to work with me one day, and I was
Mhm.
like, when I was doing the kitchen, and she came in, and initially she was just like, I don't want to do that. But then I was like, come on. And I showed her what to do, and filling the holes and stuff. And then I created a reel, and that one kind of went viral. And I was like, see what you did. And she was like, what? I'm gonna be a star. And I was like, oh, here we go. She was like, put me on the payroll, coach. I was like, no, no, no. But
I do see your car karaoke's though, and I'm like, now that's hilarious. The
yeah.
car. I was like, I thought to myself, I would love to do car karaoke with my mom, but she don't be knowing the lyrics. She don't be knowing the lyrics. It's I love it. Cassandra's saying model of strength and purpose. Listen, I'm never
Oh, thank you.
short of amazement of what God can do, what He, you know, um, even our worst days, in our worst situations, God has a way of just bringing beauty. My other, I call her Mama too. She's on here tonight too. She has a ministry called Beauty for Ashes, straight from out of that scripture. And truly, that's what God has done for you. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can talk to you for hours and ask you so many additional things, but because there is a time difference, I'll just wait to when you hear and you doing the kitchen downstairs because it'll still be neat and done when you come out here next year.
Yeah,
I
okay. But
promise.
hey, I'm still here for a little longer if you look, you don't woke me up now.
No, 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 oh, no. I didn't want to keep you, but listen, we can go. Okay, so now I do like to do this other part of the segment of the show. I haven't done it in a while, and I want to definitely do it with you because I just know that you're quick and you got it. Okay, so
Uh-oh,
one of the things I
uh-oh.
like to do on the
What you
show is
think?
I know.
I had
So
coffee, so
who knows?
I
I like.
might.
I love it. My mom talking about I'm diming her out. Yes, mommy. Mommy, it's okay. You don't be knowing the lyrics. Love you anyway. So what I like to do with my guests is just getting their raw feelings on various topics, as well as it, and always looking to see how it can relate back to. And I notice it always relates back to who they are, their core principles. So whether I'm asking about random sports question, stuff in social media, you name it, people always know how to like bring it back and be like, you know what? This is just how I feel. So I love trying to get to know folks in an organic portion. So I hear an accent.
Uh-huh.
I hear this accent, but you don't sound like Louisiana accent.
Yes,
So where are you from
New York.
originally? No, okay. All right. Now is
I'm
that
only here because of the Air Force.
only because okay, so you from New York, okay? I have to ask you, are you let's do it like this. Wu-Tang located in New York or Lil Kim and Biggie them part of New York, or are we looking at Queen Latifah and where she's from? Which part? Which
Nas and LL Cool J.
Yep, Nas and LL Cool J. Okay, now I gotta remember where they from.
Queens.
Where they Queens. Okay, I was like, where they look, I'm California born and bred, so I I don't
Yeah.
know. So with that being said, don't want to like tilt your hand, but with everything that's going on in the world that you see, and coming from New York and now living in Louisiana, which place or which state do you feel is by far you would move back in an instance or move to an instance?
Ooh. Definitely not Florida. I lived there for 7 years, and I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't go back there. I would probably go to Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, I like
Houston,
Texas.
Dallas, San
Dallas,
Antonio, Dallas.
Dallas
Okay.
area. Yeah, we're about 3 hours from there. We travel there often, so I love being out there.
Okay. So you're
Yeah.
part of like you're in like Shreveport area of
Yep.
okay. Okay. Well, Mama Two says
I
she's
wouldn't
from
even know that.
well, I do I always love geography.
Okay.
Loved all the
Okay.
geography. So
Okay.
that's my little nerdism. And so when it comes down to me always going to I know Houston, Houston, you get to Lake Charles, get to New Orleans real quick. If you're in Dallas, it's you can go from Oklahoma City in 3 hours, or you can go further south and get to Shreveport. So yeah, that's little random stuff.
Okay.
But don't ask me to navigate. Don't be like, okay, don't try to say we 36 clicks out. Don't do that. Don't do that to me. I won't know.
Not the
I won't.
clicks.
I don't know. Well, Mama Two said she's from Westchester County. Western Chester?
Westchester.
I know she said she's from Queens. That sound like she's from Queens, right? Is that
Oh,
in New
Westchester
York?
County. Okay.
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 Listen, that made me think of what Worcestershire sauce. I was like, what's that here, sir? I was like, I know I can do better than this. I think she's saying Westchester, but in my mind, I'm hearing Worcestershire. Oh, why would you do this to me? But okay, so then let's get into some things that we kind of see today. When you are preparing to create, who's your inspiration?
Oh, so design. You know what? I love modern Mediterranean. Like when I went to Europe, the architecture that was there, I fell in love with it. And so the arches and the details and all of that stuff. And so, I was like, man, that's how I want my house to feel when I walk in there. It's just something about how that feels. And it's so unique to the US, depending on where you are, obviously. And so, and plus, when you look on social media right now, I think everybody is kind of moving a certain way. And I like to be different.
Yeah.
So that right there, I really like that design. But as far as like interior designers, so I don't know if you know who Alison Victoria is on HGTV. She does Windy City Rehab.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I love her style. Absolutely
Okay.
love her style, hands down. So she's my favorite designer. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. So my husband, he was looking around. He was like, "So you're really planning on changing everything in this house?" I was like, yeah, just in stages. But I mean, you'll
Yeah.
like it when I get done, I think.
Right. You're going to love it. Just calm down. Calm down. So,
Yeah.
from a design side, since you mentioned Mediterranean as well as, the Windy City Rehab, that
Mhm.
Allison, what's her last name again?
Victoria.
Yeah, Allison Victoria. Okay. Because I'm trying to remember, because I know Chip and Joanne, I was watching all of theirs. I was a huge fan at one point of Property Brothers
Hmm.
until I learned how much all that stuff costs.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said,
And they have expensive taste too. So yeah. Yeah.
I said, you know what? What I got is just
But
it
you can
works,
make
y'all.
something out of pretty much everything. Obviously, the creativity has to come along with it. But man, there's so many things that you can do, and YouTube is everybody's friend. Like I'm not gonna lie, I learned a lot from YouTube.
Okay.
And then just try to put my own little spin on it. And then Pinterest just as well. Like I will go on there and search for hours and just create little mood boards with things and then try to figure out the most cost effective way to do that. So
How would you recommend someone to start?
Um, starting DIY. So I would start small. Um, some of the easy things that you can do are painting your walls, changing out your curtains, changing door handles. That just updates a space. You'd be surprised how easy that is to do, and then how much of a change that can be just as well. Let me see what else. Rugs, they play a big part too. So the kind of rugs and the kind of curtains you have, and then the textile, so like pillows and blankets, like all of that stuff, and paint. You can just with those things, and that's not you even really bringing out any power tools. You can change a space just with that stuff.
I hear all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure the paint guy over at Home Depot is sick of me. I've taken all kinds, and I just, I hear you.
Do it.
But, but
I will walk you through.
okay. Well, then that's okay.
Yeah,
This
I
mother,
got you. I will walk you through.
okay. Because I'm like, how? And I think I think, even applying it to our lives,
Mhm.
getting someone to start. You just mentioned there's some simple cosmetic things that can be changed
Mhm.
that can make a difference in a space. But it's the getting started. And you mentioned earlier about the rocket countdown.
Mhm.
What other, if you could encourage anyone watching on tonight, or whenever they might see this, what would be your She Moves with Purpose recommendation as it means to starting and moving forward? What do you recommend?
Starting and move forward in life, or would it be about
Life, everything, just something that will be a band-aid and being able to be applied in each area. I would say like that.
mm. Um, well, the first thing that just dropped in my spirit was fear says, what if? But faith says, even if.
Mm.
So fear says, well, what if I start? Like, will I do this? Will I be able to achieve this? But your faith says, even if I fail initially, I'm learning something from that failure, right? So your perspective, and that's kind of what I always lean back to, is your perspective is literally everything, and it'll make or break you. So I know, as you're going through or even starting something, how you perceive yourself in that. Like sometimes you got to motivate yourself. And there's days where I stand in the mirror and I'm just like, and so I live by quotes. Like there's quotes in my bathroom mirror. There's a quote right here in front of me. There's one right there. Like I have to have them all around me, my mugs, like everything, because for me, those are the reminders that I need to stay on track and to keep moving. And so I think it's just really important that we do things to create a change in ourselves, right? And so your perspective, much like I said, that kind of that matters a whole lot. And realizing that challenges are designed to make us better. So
Yeah.
if you're wanting to start something, stand in the mirror and just be like, you know what, today I got it. I like if you got to jump up and down, turn whatever music on that's gonna hype you up, and just get yourself in the headspace of this is what I want to do, this is what I need to do, and then also pray about it too, because you're not going to be able to do things on your own. You, God, and people that you have in your life, like ask them to be your accountability partners. Um, and with all of that, I think you'll be able to create just that foundation of movement there. Um, hmm, that's a tough question. Wow, because I have to think back to me, and I just yeah, I know my faith was everything for me, and my husband, he was such a rock. And I think again that's where it goes back to making sure that you have people in your life that will help you and bring you out of that dark place and remind you who you are and speak into you and pour into you and just really help you to shift your thought process even when you're not able to. Or like I said, just putting things up around your house that you walk into each room and you see something that says like this sign that I got right here, be brave. Be brave about
Yeah.
what everything that you want to do. And it's important. And sometimes people may need stuff like that. So um, I think just sitting down and figuring out what's that thing that's going to motivate you, like really being honest with yourself and identifying what that is and what you need and putting that into action.
I wholeheartedly agree. I agree with understanding the importance of, hey, you can do this. You have your resilience room. And I was thinking as you were sharing earlier, I'm like, where's my place where I can go to and say, okay, Camille, move forward. Um, I always go to the Word of God for sure. Or I'll, Lord knows, I'll start playing my songs. But sometimes you need that physical place, that memorial, that remembrance of like, okay, this happened. You can keep moving. But to your point of, sometimes the getting started can look so unique.
Yeah.
But you said earlier, the consistency is not about burrowing through and never stopping. It's riding the ebbs and flows and continuing on. And I'm like, I don't think people look at consistency like that. I think we've been trained to think of consistency of saying, if you fall off, bad, you failed. No, you weren't committed. But consistency is more, I mean, I guess we can use David as an example of that, man after God's own heart, but yet he had that great sin with Bathsheba and killing Uriah and all this different stuff. But understanding, just because he in calling the senses, like, he was human. He made some real mistakes.
Right.
But it was his consistent love for God and going to him for healing and repentance and forgiveness. I think sometimes we mess up in a natural way of what consistency looks like. And I appreciate you stopping by tonight with saying about being consistent, because you helped me to understand, okay, Camille, just because you ain't been in the gym in a month of Sundays doesn't mean that, you're not consistent. Don't keep looking at it with no interruptions,
Right.
because life is filled with interruptions. But how do you keep going
Yep.
throughout the interruptions? And so I hope someone grabbed, because that's what I'm taking away from tonight.
Yeah.
You know,
And with
I'm,
those interruptions, like offer yourself some grace, because nothing is ever going to be perfect and everything is not always going to turn out the way that we plan. And when it doesn't, you give yourself grace and say, okay. And then also failures too. People tend to look at failures as a negative thing. It's not. It's an opportunity for you to learn what you've done wrong and how to do it better as you move forward. So again, I go back to that perspective is everything. So yeah, realizing consistency is not something that like you have to have that steady flow of things all the time or action all the time. It's not that. It's getting up even when you fall down and keeping moving. And maybe you need to tie your shoe different the next time, but you keep going, you know?
right.
So
Get some slip-ins. You don't need to keep using these shoelaces like that. Get some slip-ins.
right.
But don't stop wearing the shoe. That kind of thing. I
Right.
think that I mean, man, I cannot tell you how useful your words are for me tonight. I'm embarking in some uncharted waters pretty soon. I would say I'm already in there. And I think when I know, not passively, I know for sure, when you're saying lean into your faith, when you mentioned just a few moments ago, fear says, what if, while faith says, even if. So even if it doesn't go the way I desire, what did I learn from it?
Mhm.
What's the what's the worst that can happen,
Yeah.
right? And keep moving forward. And I think that um, with all that you have overcome in your life and all that you are yet, I mean, the doors are opening for you, Miss Toya Cheri. Listen, I'm excited. I'm so excited. I'm like, I don't
Thank
know how
you.
it's gonna turn out, because I'm like, listen, I had her on the Be Here web show. Okay, and she came out here to fix up my house. Listen, I got arches in place. Listen, I'm telling you, my dad would really love for you to come out here, because then I can leave him alone about stuff. He was like, please, whatever you can. But just to, the doors that God is opening for you and your family, I'm excited, and I hope we not only stay connected, but we continue this fellowship. So when you write your book, you can come back on here and debut your book.
I sure will.
Listen, I'm talking
Because
about
you encouraged me. I appreciate that so much. So much.
I always enjoy a good book. I love a good page turn, and that's where I believe what this web show offers for people to do to get a head start on telling their story. Because once you hear it out loud, and you feel the emotion of saying certain things out loud, it makes it easier putting it to paper.
Yeah.
Even if you want to start with a devotional, the
Mm.
scriptures that help carry you through your dark time, the quotes, the thoughts, you know, I don't know why when I said, um, the DIY kept popping in my, I was seeing another acronym for that, but man, just
Mm.
how you can press forward in that, and so
Okay. Yes.
I'm excited for the future.
Thank you so much. And one last thing I wanted to leave with
Yes, please.
everyone who was watching this is something that my pastor says all the time, and it's something that I hold dear to my heart. But you can always find your gain in the again.
Whew. Come on, yes, yes. Who's your pastor? Where do we send the offering? Where do we do this? Come
Yeah,
on.
that's the word for me, because I tell you again, when you falling down, when you feeling like you failed, that's that consistency thing. You just pick back up and keep going. But you will find success, you will find your gain and continuing on even when you ebb and flow. So yeah,
Yeah.
just keep pushing, keep going, keep motivating yourself, find people that motivate you, keep praying, keep believing, keep leaning in even when you don't want to, man. And that 1% a day will definitely yield results for you.
Well, fine, Toya. I'll do my little exercise that I've been putting off. Okay, I'll do it. I
The
did go
gym,
walk.
I ain't been in the gym in like 5 days, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to get back. So I just been tired. But yes, tomorrow, no, not tomorrow, because it's late and I'm tired. Thursday, I'm start Thursday.
She was like, no, 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 don't put me out there saying that. Nope, I'm not doing it. Well, listen, I get to hang out with you a little bit if you don't mind. But we're going to tell our viewers good night. But to all those who tuned in, whether you're watching live, you're in the comments, whether on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, wherever else I have this thing going to. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you to Miss Toya Cheri. Thank you. Thank you for saying yes to this little random young lady that just sent you a DM early one Sunday morning. It was like, hey, here I am. I would love to see if you could be on. And for you to share such wisdom, so many jewels, and for helping someone to know not only be consistent, but lean into your faith. And as we always close out, if you do not have a faith in God, you have not made him your choice. You have not started a personal relationship with Jesus. Today is a great day to do so. And you don't have to repeat any aggressive statements, don't have to be walked in the back and nothing. It's just, Lord, I need you. Something as simple as that starts the journey, and knowing that he is there. I love what you said, Toya, this evening. You knew that God sees you. And when people understand that he sees you, he loves you, he knows you, he's never forgotten about you, that is a reason to keep moving forward, because we have a God who loves us. So I offer Christ to you once again. For those who are tuning in who might not have a relationship with the Lord, make him your choice today. Or maybe you started off, but somehow you dropped off. The ebbs were ebbing and the flows was flowing. But today is a great day to pick back up and say, Lord, I want to try it again with you. And I'm confident, and I know without a peradventure of doubt, God hears, he responds, and he loves. So ask him into your heart today and let him make a difference. So thank you so much for tuning in on tonight. For all of my guests that hung out with us, thank you, name by name, heart by heart. We appreciate you, Sister Toya. You see the love in the chat because you can see from your side as well. We appreciate you. Let your family know that we love and we're praying with and for them. And next week, I have Miss Katrina Belser. She'll be joining us from Augusta, Georgia, and she's going to be sharing with us. And so I'm excited. So I get to say good night to you all, but I get to hang out with, she's my newfound friend and sister in Christ as well. Did y'all know she said she's going to redecorate my house? She's going to redo my house. Did you hear that? I know. It's so crazy. I thank God for these blessings that keep on coming.
Let's go.
But until next time, may God bless you. May God keep you is our prayer. Give me 1 second, Toya. We'll be right back.
Okay.